Hi, my name's Graf, and I'm an actor, writer and director from London. When I grew up, when I was about 2 years old, I knew that I was different, and I didn't know what it was that was different about me, but I knew 100% that I was a boy, and everyone around me was telling me that I was a girl. So that was my parents were saying, don't be silly, you're just a girl, and you don't understand, and this is the way it works, and I would say to them over and over and over again, no, I'm a boy, I'm a boy, I'm a boy. And I realise now, of course, much later in life, that what it was that I was a transgender man. But obviously back then there was no trans people in the media, and there were no trans people in films or on the television, and so I didn't know what I was. And you can imagine when you're young, when you're sort of 3 and 4 and 5 years old, and you know that you're different but you don't know why, and you don't know what it is that's wrong with you, it makes for a really, really sad, lonely and isolating experience. And I really hoped that one day my parents would listen to me and that they would help me with whatever was going on. But of course they didn't know what transgender meant either, and back then the word wasn't even really used. So I grew up just feeling that there was something really different about me and that there was no one else like me, and I really felt like a bit of a freak. And obviously that's not nice for any kid to feel. When I started going to school, I was bullied at school pretty much from the age of about 4 or 5 years old because I looked so different to all the other girls. And I knew that I wasn't one of them, and all my friends were boys. But when it came to things like going to the toilet at break, I was supposed to go to the girls' toilet, and of course I didn't want to. And so I would get in trouble with all the teachers because they'd have to keep pulling me out of the boys' toilet. Occasionally I'd have a really nice teacher who would let me use the teacher's toilet, but then that just made me even more different to the other kids, and they wondered, what was wrong with me and why I was getting that special different treatment. When I got a bit older, I used to pray to God every night that I would wake up as a boy. And I would, beg my parents to let me have the operation. I didn't even know what the operation was back then. I just knew that I needed to have an operation to make me feel like I was in the right body, because I didn't. When I sort of hit my early teens, I stopped talking about it because I realised that that was just getting me in trouble, and it was causing lots of problems with my parents, and they were angry with me a lot of the time. So I just stopped saying that I was a boy, and I just kind of swallowed it down. And I was really, really miserable for a long, long time. I never thought that I was going to become anything. I never thought I'd make anything of myself. And I never really saw a future for myself, which I guess is quite sad. When I was 16 years old, I thought I really need to belong somewhere. I needed a community. And so I found the lesbian scene. And I made a lot of good friends there, and it was a really big part of my life for about 10 years. And I worked in all the lesbian bars and, dated and lived my life as a woman and as a gay woman. But I knew that wasn't who I really was. And, I came out to my mum at 19 and told her that I was a lesbian, and she said, well, so long as you're happy. But I wasn't happy because I knew that wasn't who I really was. And it took me another probably 10 years until I was 26 before I even met another trans man and realised that that's what I was. And as soon as that happened, everything changed, because this was a guy who was successful and happy and productive, and more than that, he was supported and he was loved by people around him. And so I realised for the first time that that's what I was and that's what I could be. And everything changed. And it wasn't like it was overnight. I told my mum, I've always been unhappy, I've always felt I was different. And she remembered back to when I was 3 and 4 years old, telling her that I was a boy. And obviously now, because there's so much talk of trans things in the media, she realised that that's what I'd been talking about all along, and obviously was very supportive from straight away, because she knew that this was something that had been going on since I was a very little kid. And she helped me to get hormones and to have my top surgery. And, as I said, things don't change overnight, but slowly but surely I became happier. And slowly but surely I could look into the mirror and actually liked what I saw for the first time in my life, and walk down the street without hunching over and actually feel sort of proud to be finally who I was. My friends were very accepting. I was really lucky. And, there've been lots of hard times, and I felt very, very lonely. And I wondered if I was ever going to find anyone to love me again, or be able to date again as a trans person, because that can be quite hard. But generally, my mood changed. Life sort of lifted. You know, it was like the sun had suddenly come out, and finally, for the first time in my life, I could be me. Since then, I've started making films, and I work with lots of charities, and I try my very best to give back and to be that person that I couldn't be, that I didn't have when I was a kid, and try and be that person for other young trans men and trans people. In the last couple of years, I got married. I met my wife and got married, and she's also trans. And honestly, I am so glad that I was finally able to be me and to live as my authentic self. And honestly, all I can say is it does get better. I know it's hard, and I know sometimes it feels like there's no end to it, and you think, you know, why me? Why can't I just be normal, whatever that means? But honestly, it does get better, I promise you. And, you know, if I could say anything to my younger self, it's just, you know, just keep going, push on, and just think that one day you'll be happy and you'll be the man that you always knew you'd be.